Hi there, Rob here, and this is the first of 4 videos where I'm going to take you through drawing with the pen tool. This one we're just going to review a few of the different basic shapes and point combinations that you start drawing with the pen tool. So the pen tool, this one here on the toolbox. So to start with, we're going to look at the corner point, which is the most basic combination. To get this, I'm just going to click with my pen tool with the mouse button. I'm going to go over to here, and you can see how it's drawing this little elastic line. It's not actually drawing the line yet until I click where I want to place the next point. If I click, it'll lay down a corner point, and then I'll come down here and click just here, and I'm done. That's my point. Now I've still got this little rubber band guide here. If I want to stop drawing the shape, I just hold down on the Mac the command key, or on the PC the control key. I get the little arrow there, and I'll just click away on a space where nothing is, and that is my basic shape. And if I go and get my direct selection tool, so this is the white selection arrow here, then I can work with individual points. So you can see I've got this anchor point here, here, and here, and I can drag any of them to move them away, and it will redraw the line in a different shape. So that's the basic corner point, the most simple of all the points. It's a straight line coming in and a straight line going out. Now, slightly more complicated is the smooth point, and here we have curved lines going through each other. So I'll go and get my pen tool again, and rather than just clicking, I'm going to click and drag, and when I drag, I get these handles which control how the path leaves the point and enters the point. And I've dragged that handle out there, and as I come over here, I'm going to want to draw a curved line. Don't worry too much about where the guide is going at the moment. I'm going to try and pop down a point somewhere down here, and again click and drag, and that will smooth off my line there. And then I'll come to the end here, very last point, and click and drag away. Now I haven't got that perfectly accurate, no worries there, because I can come and adjust it. So I could either hold down my command or control key and click to deselect, or just by clicking on another tool, that will stop me drawing with this shape. So if I click away, so nothing's selected, if I click on the actual path itself, you can see when I click on an anchor point, I get the handles for that point coming up, and also the ones of the points either side. So these handles are what control the curvature, the smoothness of these paths going between the points. Now it can be fun to deal with, and when I say fun, I mean, well, not fun at all. Once you get used to where you put these points and how you use the curves, it will become a lot easier. And I'm going to be showing you a few tips and tricks of how to make it a lot easier than just drawing from scratch. We'll get to those in the future videos. So to change this anchor point here, I can just drag it along to change where the actual curve starts. The general rule is put your anchor points where a curve is going to change. So I'd say I probably got it right the first time around, about there. And to get this exit path, so where it comes from this anchor point to go round this curve up to here, I want to actually pull this handle further away, and you can see how it's pulling the curve a bit further. The trick with anchor points and their handles is to let both handles on either end of a line segment share the work. So rather than just pulling this handle out here to try and get it right here, just do the first half of that curve there, and then go and adjust the handle here to do the second part. And you'll get used to using these handles. With a smooth curve point, the handles are attached to each other. So if I move this one around, it'll move the curve on the other side, just a bit like using bicycle handlebars there. So that's the basic smooth point combination there. 3 points with handles. So we move on to the next one, which is the cusp point, where you've got 2 curves going into a corner. So a bit like the top of a wave or the point of a collar, something like that. Now there's easier ways of drawing this, but I'll start off with the normal way. start with my pen tool, and I'll draw, click and drag to start drawing a curve. Then I'll come up to here, this point here, and I'll click and drag to do a curve. If I hold down my Alt key, the one with ALT on it, notice how I get this little end, sort of almost just an upside down V. I can click and pull that handle round, so I'm breaking that handle away from its sibling on the other side. If I let go of my Alt key and then click and drag here, I've got the first part of my curves. I can hold down the Command key to deselect. I can go and get my direct selection tool and then come back in and adjust the curves here, and see how on this point here I've got my handles are actually disconnected, so I can actually move them separately, so I get this point here. Now be careful when you're trying to control your points and paths. Don't use this kind of point and these handles when you're trying to get a nice smooth point, because you will get a kink in the line. We'll touch on this later on. So that's one way of drawing the cusp point. However, there's an easier way. I'm going to go and draw with the pen tool, but rather than do it with by dragging out handles, I'm just going to click here, click again to get a corner point where I want my point there, and I'm going to click here. Then Command click away so it's deselected. Then I'm going to go back to my pen tool and I'm going to pull out that anchor point tool. You saw it briefly just a little while ago, that little upside down V. The anchor point tool is for adjusting anchors, changing what anchor points do. So a new feature in one of the later versions of Adobe Creative Cloud means that rather than just adjust points, so I can drag on the anchor point, drag away from it, and it becomes a smooth point. I don't want to worry about that now. I can actually drag on the line itself to turn it from a straight path into a curve, and then I can come over here to this one, click and drag, and it turns it into a curve. So if I do that all in one go, I go back, I'll get my pen tool, so the motion is click, click, click to get the points. I'll just quickly go in, grab the anchor point tool, and then pull the line into shape like that, and then Command click or Control click away. So that's what's generally known as a cusp point. And then finally we'll go to where we have combinations of points and curves and the like. So here I've got a straight line going into this curve like this. So if I go and get my pen tool, now back in the day, before the days of the anchor point tool, or used to have to go and do it this kind of way. So I'd do a straight line, I'd click and then click again to drag a handle up. So I'm clicked on that point there and I'm dragging this handle up, and I'm also holding the shift key down. The shift key means that I'm drawing that handle, which will control the direction of my path leaving that point, directly up, and it'll stick to just the constrained angles, the 45-degree angles there. So by having a directly vertical handle, it means I'll get this curve here, and I'll come over to the other point on the other side and then click, drag down, I'll press the shift key and try and balance this out. Now as you can see, I've got to try and balance on both sides here. So if I Command click, Control click on the PC, go and get my direct selection tool, and you can see what I need to do is actually balance these two handles so they're the same height. So I'm holding down shift to keep it going up there, and it's a little bit of a balancing act here. As long as I get into the same height, it's kind of right. If I just delete that, and I'll do the method that I used similarly to the cusp point. So rather than going through the actual curving the points as I go along, I'm just going to click where the anchor is. If I shift click, it will draw that directly horizontal line, and then I'm going to shift click again to get my final anchor point. But then I'm going to go back to my pen tool, press and hold, get my anchor point tool, and then go into the middle of the path here and just drag up to here. So now I know if I've gone for the middle of the path there, that both of my handles on either side are at the same place. So all I need to do now is click and hold down the shift key and drag it to one side, drag the shift key and to the other side, and it's a lot more even there. So there we go. Those are the 4 main combinations that we're going to use in the future videos. So practice those, get used to the pen tool and how it draws the different paths and controls the handles. And next we'll be getting into drawing actual shapes and using a template file to actually use as a guide for when we come to draw.